My name is Matt Butler and I'm presenting this work on behalf of my colleagues listed, all from Monash University, Melbourne, Australia. When I'm presenting in Melbourne, I acknowledge the traditional owners of the lands, the Wurundjeri people, and like to pay my respects to their elders past and present. This is a quick overview of our work of a systematic literature review of research into touch-based accessible graphics over the last decade. We went into this review trying to understand the current landscape of work in this area. The past decade was chosen as we felt it showed a distinct shift in work and the embracing of many new emerging technologies, as well as producing a sizable body of work to review. We were keen to understand how things changed over the last decade, dominant methods, and most importantly, to identify key gaps and challenges, as that's one of the main contributions that a work like this can feed back into the research community. In defining the scope, the focus was on a novel touch-based graphic work, either in production, presentation, or interaction. So that meant traditional tactile graphics would only be included if part of a comparative study or with a novel production technique. Touch was also vital, and other modalities such as sound were only included if touch was the dominant interaction strategy. Also of importance was that the work focused on use by the blind and low vision community. If it was solely for other purposes, then it wasn't included. So using this aforementioned scope, we had a set of inclusion criteria. We then identified works in two ways. Firstly, by reviewing about a dozen key conferences and journals that are well known for their work in assistive tech, as well as key industry journals. We also had a defined keyword search that let us find work outside of these venues. An inclusive approach meant we identified 352 papers, which we then reviewed and analysed based on criteria you can read in the paper. 59 papers were removed from the set by mutual agreement for being outside of scope, leaving a final corpus of 292 papers. What's following is a quick overview of some of the findings. With regard to demographics, the papers were from 97 different venues with 641 unique authors. While this is encouraging that work in the area is being conducted by a significant number of researchers and in a wide variety of venues, the long tail in each is of some concern, whereby the majority of papers are one-off works with no follow-up or refinement. This may suggest that a lot of work takes place that does not lead to community use. Regarding the types of diagrams represented, most were of maps for orientation mobility use or STEM materials in education. What was very underrepresented were diagrams for use in the workplace, and indeed the work context was in very few papers. Of the primary contributions to the work was split reasonably evenly between new uses of existing tech, new production methods, or new presentation methods, with also a strong representation of new interaction approaches. Significant gap was that there were very few comparative studies whereby new technologies were really evaluated against other tech and best practice. This is both an opportunity for future work and would strengthen practical outcomes. A speculation regarding technologies proved to be correct, with maker-type technologies like 3D printing and low-cost electronics for use in audio label dominating. They strengthened around 2015, with force feedback devices dropping off considerably around that time. We were very keen to understand the nature of end-user involvement across the work as well. When considering full papers in the corpus, we're encouraged that just over 85% of works had the involvement of end-user participants. This, however, was mostly an evaluation, with little involvement in the design or development stages, which is a significant gap. Also of note were that blind end users were overrepresented in comparison to those who have low vision, which is another gap. Similarly, there was very little involvement by sector professionals, such as transcribers, O&M experts, and the like. From the analysis, a number of key opportunities for future work emerged. First was in broadening of application areas. As previously mentioned, there was little research focused on workplace context, and we feel that this is a significant gap and could also help address inequities in the workplace. Secondly, we believe that the use of comparative studies could be strengthened to better understand the potential practical implication of work that's being undertaken. Related to this, there's also the need for more studies to conduct in situ testing, and this could add extra validity to evaluation and strengthen adoption of new technologies and approaches. Finally, while involvement by the blind low vision community in general is fairly strong, all participants could be more heavily involved in the design and development of new approaches, and also there should be greater inclusion by those with low vision. To conclude, it's important to point out that to support this study and the accessible graphics community more broadly, we have an accessible online repository of the works reviewed, a picture of which is seen on the screen. Based on the work of Kucha Parady and Karen with their sentiment viz, we have our own accessible graphics repository, AGREP, that's had tweaks to improve accessibility and to share with the wider community. Details are in the paper and the URL is in the slides. Thank you to all whose work we reviewed, and we hope that there will continue to be strong work in the future.